Yeah.
which means relinquishing some control, which means trusting other people to get it done and being okay with that. And it is hard when you're the one who's responsible for it at the end of the day. And like your decisions impact, a lot of people's lives and livelihood. And you really have to be cognizant of that and be respectful of that.
Join me, Sasha Pieterse, on Women in the Nude, Season 2, where we bear it all, except for our bodies. Leave that to your imagination. Welcome to Women in the Nude. I don't know, maybe we will expose ourselves today. How do you feel?
You can never make promises about that.
So this is Molly Shaheen, my dear, dear friend. I used to call her Molly Collins before I realized, no, that's not right. And I will explain. First of all, Molly is one of my favorite people on this planet. Your energy is just intoxicating. You're just so kind and also so funny, and you have the perfect level of sarcasm. I love how we met, why we met, all of the things. I've known you for like a good solid, 10 years now?
Yeah.
Amazing.
10 years.
So Molly is the wife of Huw, who played my husband on Pretty Little Liars.
Now he plays my husband.
Now he plays your husband.
Most days.
I love our origin story. I really do. So I think he shot one episode. No, he hadn't shot the episode yet when you guys got married.
I think he had shot one episode, but then you guys were getting married like right after we got married in real life.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because obviously when he first was on the show, we hadn't gotten married yet. Okay. So Huw and I had a chemistry read, and out of every other guy that I had a chemistry read with, he was just the nicest. He was funny too, which was nice. Chemistry reads can be really weird, and his was like a friend, which was awesome. And so when he got cast, we bonded over Perfect bars, which are these peanut butter bars, and that became like a funny thing. And he was getting married. I was so excited. I was so excited for him. I was like, enjoy. It was so much fun. You guys had a magical wedding. And then you find out that that he's got a wife on the plane home. Yeah.
I did. I was like, it's really soon in our marriage for you to have another wife. But yeah, we were flying home from Italy, and I remember being like, so like, you're going to get married this week to this other girl who I've never met on the show. Do you think that you guys are going to have to be like intimate in any way? Because that hadn't really like occurred to me given just like the nature of PLL.
Yeah.
And he was like, and we're literally sitting on the plane home from our wedding. He was like, yeah, I think so. And I was like, oh, why do you think that? Like, do you know something? And he was like, well, this week. And I was like, what? You know that this week and you haven't even bothered to like mention it or bring it up? And he's like, well, just that I didn't want to like upset our wedding. And I was like, well, I'm upset now. And then I was like, who is this person? Like, I didn't know anything about you. And then he was like, oh yeah, Sasha. And I was like, okay, well, I think we should all meet. I'd like to all meet.
Which is exactly how it went down. I suggested the same thing. I was like, we should double date. And he was like, I don't know. I'll have to check with Molly.
I was like, yeah, we're going. We're going on that date.
And Hudson had this bright idea that he should say that since Huw and I have kissed, that naturally you and him should kiss.
We should just round out the edges.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a great icebreaker.
It was.
It didn't happen.
It didn't. It still hasn't. 10 years later, it still
has not happened.
It was a good idea.
But it definitely brought us all closer.
Yeah. It was so nice. I'm so glad we did that because it was like the first time for me having to deal with that. And I like didn't really know how to feel about it. And it just made everything so much easier and like not awkward. And
yeah,
now we've kind of been like, okay, Huw, you can go. We're fine without you.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. I appreciate our girl time. I really do.
For sure.
Yeah, that was such a good experience for so many reasons. But I feel like when you are on camera with somebody that you trust as a friend, then it's fun and then it's not weird. Like, it's such a weird part of our job. And Huw and I didn't have to do anything crazy.
It was so PG.
Not at all. It was so PG. And then I got to fight him, which was even better. But it is one of those things where if there's a mutual respect and you're friends, it's cool. It doesn't like feel weird. I
Yeah.
don't know what the psychology is behind that. You would think that there would still be some weirdness, but for the most part, that doesn't happen. Now, if people are not respectful and you don't like them and they're gross and all those things, that is a very different conversation. But
For sure.
we all started off on the right foot. It was
We
great.
really did.
It was really great.
We just kept the train rolling.
We did. And the first convention that we did together, Hudson and Molly came along, and that was really fun.
It was so fun. I was like, come on, Hudson, we're going shopping. And he was like, what? I don't think so. And I was like, let's go. We got to go.
It was the first. So he, and you know this about him, refuses to shop. Like, he is not a shopper. I'm like, go get new clothes. He doesn't. He's just not his thing. And you managed to get him to shop, which I so appreciate. And I need you to do it again.
10 years later.
10 years later, it's time.
I know. I really pressured him. I was like, this is an investment piece. You're going to have it forever. He had a lot of guilt about it. We left the store. We came back to the store. We had a long think about it. We debated it. We checked with Sasha. We checked in with Huw. And then we committed.
Yeah.
And it felt great.
And he still wears it. It's a great coat.
See?
Yeah.
Great investment. Dollar per wear.
Absolutely.
You know?
I could not agree more.
Yeah. It was very fun. Hudson is so fun to be around. And like when you and Huw have to go off and do your things, it's like so nice to have a buddy to hang out with.
Buddy. He says the same thing about you.
Yeah. It's great.
It's a cool dynamic that the four of us can like
totally
do that and hang and have so many beautiful memories with each other over the years too.
Yeah. Especially like at your wedding when Huw refused to let you go to bed.
Yep. That was
like,
that was something.
Wedding night. We should go. And he was like, we're actually going to play snooker right now for a little while. I was like, I don't think that that's what they would like to do at this time.
So Hudson and I did not have sex on our wedding night, thanks to you.
It's our bad. I'm going to take responsibility for that too, because I feel like I have to take responsibility for him.
No, it was so fun. At the end of our wedding, there was this like secret corridor. I don't know if Huw found out that was up there before I did. Was that something? Did he know?
Probably.
He went and investigated? I don't know.
He's like a snoop. Yeah.
Yeah. We got married in a castle in Ireland, if you have not heard yet. And there was this secret little tower room that had this beautiful snooker table in it. And so the four of us went and played snooker until like 6 a.m.
Literally, like watch the sun come up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were like, oh, we have to pack to get on a plane.
It's time to go home.
Like in 2 hours from now. But I wouldn't have traded that. That was really, really fun.
Really
so Molly and Huw have a company called WITN.
We do.
Which is an epic clothing store that has everything that you would ever want.
Thanks. It has everything I ever want.
Which is
That's
the benefit.
Kind of the joy.
Every time I step into a WITN, though, I'm like, this feels. It feels just like home, but also like the unattainable. I'm like, I want everything so that it makes me feel like home. It's like a perfect combination. But I guess I would like to start with the fact that you are such an amazing businesswoman. And I respect you so much for the way that you operate your business, your attitude towards business in general, business as a female, business, like the way that you handle yourself with your employees, the environment that you want to create. Like you are just such an inspiration for me when it comes to being a woman in business. And when we first met, you were dealing with another clothing company. And so I saw WITN from its birth, basically.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really cool to see it grow into what it is now. Do you want to tell us a little bit about WITN and why WITN?
Yeah, for sure. WITN is my very big baby at this point. Huw and I started it 8 years ago, really because we saw this kind of gap in the luxury hospitality retail market. And so the idea was to bring kind of like the curated boutique that you love to shop in to your favorite hotel, your favorite resort, your favorite destination. So we started in this town in Maine where I spent my summers as a kid, where my mom and dad met, where they started a business in this late 60s, 1969. And they just kind of started their life there. And so when Huw and I got married, we really wanted to be able to build this foundation so that we would have a business, so that Huw could keep doing the creative things that he wanted to do. And so that, we had that kind of freedom and flexibility. So we knew we had to be in business. And I mean, as much as I love Huw, the starving artist life is like not one that I'm going to live. Okay. And I was very clear about that from the beginning. I was like, listen, buddy, I'm expensive, so buckle up. But, we really loved the idea of like starting where my parents started and like seeing if we could make it work. It felt like a low risk situation because it was home. And so the day after Huw wrapped his last episode on Pretty Little Liars, we moved to the East Coast to start this store. And the concept of it was to be multi-brand and really curated for the environment that it was in, and focused on exactly who that guest was that was coming in and what they were going to be looking for. And we looked at what price points, what products, what age ranges, the seasonality of things, and curated the store. And it did better than we ever would have thought that it could have done in its first year. And so we took that and we're like, okay, we're ready to keep growing. And so then we opened kind of more and more and more over the years. And our first hotel property, because we do a lot of retail stores within hotel properties, was at Casa del Mar in Santa Monica.
Such a pretty one too.
And then it just kind of kept going. And we've been super lucky that we've had a lot of people really champion us and pass our names on. And, as the hotel world is a small world. And so as people say, oh, we need, this category, we need this thing to happen, our names have been passed around, and we've been able to open everywhere from Anguilla at the Four Seasons in the Caribbean all the way to the Four Seasons in Lanai in Hawaii. And then we have some freestanding stores in Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and we also then decided to launch a clothing line so we
Softest things ever.
Yes.
They're so
comfort
soft.
is king at our house. So we really wanted to have a line that would support the stores and kind of go with everything that could be in all of our stores, that we could also build out a wholesale business on and really like think about, okay, what do we feel is missing? And we manufacture everything in LA. We knit all of our fabric in LA. So it's an American made brand and it's great. We love to be comfortable. If you ever see Huw wearing anything other than a wheat sweatsuit, let me know, because it's all he wears
trouble
every day of his life.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of the idea, and we've grown all over the place, and we have a home office team. It's almost all women. Our whole home office team is women. Huw is our token man that we have let hang around, but I think, having a team of all women is a big part of why we've been able to grow as aggressively as we have. We have 15 stores today. We've opened some and closed some over the years. So I think in total we've opened 20 stores.
It's amazing.
So yeah, it's been an intense 8 years.
Yeah, but it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing to achieve. I had just said this to you. Now being a business owner and CEO myself, I could never, I never want to be in the position of working for somebody else again in this category. And 15 years you've been your own boss?
Yeah, since I was 24.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Is that 15 years? No, that's longer. No, that's 15 years. Okay.
Don't make me do math
good.
right now.
My math is good.
Don't make me do math.
Yeah.
I love it. I love being in the store, like I said, but like what's kind of cool for me on my side is that every time I've gone into Wheat, I've been at a different stage in my life. And now I can get stuff for Hendrix at Wheat because you've got the cutest little kid stuff there too.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's really fun. Like I said, we curate every store to its environment. So you might feel like you've been in that store before, but like the build out will be different or the vendor matrix will be different. So we really try, especially in hotels, we have to think like, where is the guest coming from? What are they going to need when they get there? And it's really like a fun, cool experience because nobody expects to find you at the hotel. Like typically hotel retail is a little bit of an afterthought.
Yeah.
And so when you actually put the time and energy and effort into making it amazing, and like really knowing who your guest is and being aware of the fact that you have to service everyone from kids to 80, 90-year-olds and everyone in between. It really opens up your mind as to like how to put a store together.
Yeah.
And it's super fun. It's definitely the best part.
Yeah. I love it. What do you think has been like the biggest hurdle as a business owner for wheat in particular?
I mean, the biggest hurdle I would say is when we were first starting out, getting people to like trust us that we could do it. Because anytime you're going into somebody else's space, like hotel brands like Four Seasons are at the top of the top. And so getting people, until you kind of have that established where it's like, look, we can do it. We've done it over here.
Yeah.
People really believing that you can, and that, you're coming into somebody else's environment and somebody else's curated experience that they want guests to come in and experience. And so having to be just really mindful and respectful of that partnership. And now it's a little easier because we have case studies that we can point to, and we have visuals we can share with people. But that was a challenge for sure.
Do you feel like as a female entering a space like this that it's been easier or harder or a bit of both?
It's a bit of both. Like Huw and I, for better or for worse, tend to like identify the audience and say who's a better person to deal with this situation, whether it's an issue or a good thing or a request we're making of somebody. And that's not just with hotels, it's with landlords where we have leases, or it's with our manufacturing team in LA. We try to say like, and for Huw and I, it's a little different because I would say our gender roles aren't as stereotypical. Like I have a very direct, kind of tough
And I love it about you. I love that about you.
And Huw has a more gentle approach. And so I think sometimes people are a little caught off guard by that because it's not what they expect. But I think for us, it's been more about identifying who the better person is for that role because of our personalities more so than our genders. There's definitely times where we sit in rooms with people and they act like I'm not there. And like they only talk to Huw, they only negotiate with Huw. And Huw is very aware of that. We talk a lot about it. And so he will try to like redirect the conversation or like point the question back at me because he's very cognizant of it and he tries to help circumnavigate that situation. But it is a thing and it is annoying. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, you can talk to him all day, but we both have to sign.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I spoke to two CEOs or co-partners a little bit ago, and one is a female, one is a male. And he said that he had to start introducing her as his partner in a room. Otherwise, they would think that she was just the assistant.
Yeah.
Which is just so wild.
Yeah.
It is wild that that is a thing, that somebody doesn't even take the time to just ask who's who and
Totally.
why they're there. That assumption is just so crazy in itself. Yeah. So I will say what I love about you. I love a million things about you, but one thing that has always stood out to me, even before I started asking you about the business side of things, is that your style of communication is very direct, but it's awesome. It's not offensive. And yes, that type of communication can be intimidating, but it's only intimidating to people that, need to feel intimidated a little bit, I guess is the best way of putting that. And you have always inspired me to be more like that, because I've always found myself people pleasing or apologizing when I don't need to, or, making space in ways that I don't or shouldn't have to. And you have always been such a great role model in that way, because I want to be more like you. And I often say, and I tell this to Hudson all the time, I'm like, what would Molly do? And he actually says it a lot too. Well, babe, what would Molly do?
I love that. That's
It is a
such
thing.
an
It is
honor.
a thing in our house. We say, what would Molly do? And it's for that reason, because I think that it is such a great skill for women to learn. How do you think that you have navigated that type of relationship in the past when it comes to like addressing an employee, when addressing an executive, anybody that you feel like has to be, I don't know, addressed in a certain way? Is it because you're a woman? Is it not? Is it just a communication style? There's a lot of questions in there. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it's definitely a communication style. I'm wired very much like my dad, and if you like need to sit down and give my dad a lot of context about something, he's a lawyer, so he'll sit and very patiently like listen to your case, but he doesn't want the silly stuff. He only wants the facts so that he can make the decision or inform his opinion. And I feel like I'm similar. Like Hugh and I always go back and forth with each other about this, where I'm like, if you can give me 4 words, I don't need 40. Hugh will give you 80. He loves to talk. He wants to write like a 10 paragraph email. He just wants to get in there. That's like his style. It's how he connects with people. I am dyslexic. Reading a 10 paragraph email is my nightmare. So like I say to people sometimes, I'm just going to tell you what I think, and you're not going to have to guess. I'm not
Yeah.
going to tell you one thing and really mean another. I'm going to tell you what I think, and I'm going to write back in the way that is clear and concise and direct, because it is hard for me to write long emails, and I also don't have a lot of time because I'm working all the time. So it's like it's just a different style, but it's also because like I'm always trying to get to the point. I'm always trying to like figure out, okay, if there's a problem, how am I going to solve it? Okay, this is the information I need versus the information I don't. Like I've always been into nonfiction instead of fiction, because I'm always like, there's so many interesting things that have already happened in the world. I would rather learn about that before I start with the made up stuff.
Yeah.
Which like for a lot of reasons isn't great. And like,
I don't know. There's a lot of good reasons in there.
But
I'll say one in a second. But
yeah. And so I just like, those things are like always what draw me in, is like, okay, what are like the nuts and bolts of what we're dealing with here? And I think sometimes like I do like sometimes with new team members, I'll just be like, listen, you know, you don't, when I tell you something and we address it and we solve a problem, that's it. You don't have to think about it anymore. We've solved it. You don't have to go home and think about it, because I don't want you to go home and think about it. I want, if there's an issue or a conflict or something we need to address, I want to address it and I want to move on, because there's too many other good things to be focused on and get to and deal with, to have to sit around and think about, you know, the tone.
To say what I was going to say, and then I will move on. I think that it's actually fascinating that you're interested in more fact than you are fiction. And I think that's good for a couple of reasons. Not only is there a lot to be learned from history, but also it also means that like there is a beauty to truth, right? It's nice to have it there instead of reading between the lines and trying to figure out what really happened and what didn't. I think so much of fiction is obviously brought from truth and from fact.
Totally.
And it's fun, especially as an actor, sure, to have that make-believe side or that creative side. But at the end of the day, like it's important to know for your own mental clarity and security what is true. And I think women kind of sometimes do ourselves a disservice, and we speak in fiction, or at least there's a lot of fluff, or there's a lot of
justification.
Yeah, and it's first of all, it's exhausting. And because of that, I think we always are overthinking something that somebody has said. Is that what they really meant? Is that what did they actually mean the other thing? Is there more there? And I think it's really refreshing the way that you look at things and the way that you communicate, because not a lot of people can do that and then say, okay, that's done, let's move on, and truly not overthink something. And I think that is something to strive for. I think all of us should be striving for the for the way of communicating where we also don't have to overthink, and somebody doesn't have to overthink about what we had said as well. I want that to be something that I invite into my work culture, is like, you know, yes, I am in a higher position, but this is a respectful place where we communicate, we say what we mean, both good, bad, ugly. Let's get it out of the way. Let's move on, and let's you know, do all the good things like you're saying that we have to do. I hope that I can get that same
I'm sure you will.
environment. I hope. Seems like we are so far, but yeah, it's been one of the most rewarding things in my life, building a company, seeing the ins and out of what go on inside, what it takes. I've never fully been on the corporate side before, even just learning, you know, the best ways to communicate on Slack and on Notion and all of these little fun things where you have to set up organizations and programs and channels and all things. So it's actually been really rewarding, and there's been so many amazing life lessons in such a short period of time for me, because I'm noticing that even in the under 2 years that we've been creating Hippie Water, we've only been alive for 7 months, but in that period of time, my communication skills, my productivity, my like ways of organizing my thoughts and stuff for the year, even, I mean, it's been so fruitful and so cool and so nice to be able to build something with not only my partner, but with a lot of amazing people, and including 2 of our friends for sure. But like seeing people's work styles, how they do and don't work together, how to solve problems. There's so much there, and it's exciting. It's a lot of hard work, but it's exciting. How do you feel? Because I've got plenty of answers for this on my side. How does it feel to be working with your partner? And yeah, are those like, what are the good and the bad things that come from that?
Well, we were saying this earlier.
Yeah.
To
Molly and I have lots of answers for this.
The list goes on. To describe Huw as like kind of impossible.
It's true.
He's a very unique individual and wonderful in so many ways.
We're going to zoom in on that. Just kidding.
It's a twitch. What did I say earlier? I said he's like the most difficult, but also the most accommodating person.
It's a perfect way to describe him. It honestly is.
And he like wants to accommodate you so badly and like wants to make sure you have everything you need. But he's so specific that it makes him very difficult. But I love him very much. But I think like the good things, I would say probably my favorite thing about working with Huw is like how real we keep it between each other. You know, with like with like a regular business partner, it's like a little hard to call them out in a way that you like would call your partner out, at least how Huw and I communicate. Like if I think Huw's out of line, I let him know. If he thinks I'm out of line, he lets me know. And we've, you know, there's challenges that come with that. You know, we had to kind of learn and are grateful to some of our team members who have witnessed our back and forth. But, you know, we've kind of had to learn to say like, okay, when is the right time to like have this debate? And when is, you know, what do we want to talk about just us internally before we bring it to everybody else? And what decisions do we need to make and feel really firm and comfortable in before we invite other opinions into the room? But I think just like knowing that you have a partner who really has your back, both in life and in business, who like only wants the best for you. Like Huw and I treat the business like the baby. And so we know that we're going into every meeting and every conversation wanting what's best for the baby. We don't always agree on what we think is best for the baby. We have different parenting styles, but like the goal for both of us is the same. So it makes it really easy to not get caught up with like the ego side of things, because we know that doesn't serve either of us. And I think that's like the best thing that comes from working together. I think the challenges are like when stuff is hard at work, it's hard at home. When stuff's hard at home, it's hard at work. We travel a lot. We're on the road a lot. You know, we have a pretty big team. And so spending time together and getting that like time outside of work is hard, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
what do you think?
I also feel that. I also feel that. I was telling you this earlier too, which is Hudson and I are used to spending like 24/7 together. It's been a big part of our our relationship and our marriage and our parenting, everything. We're always together. And that has always come so easily. A lot of people during COVID had a lot of friction with their partner because they weren't used to spending that much time with them. That didn't bother us at all. That was normal,
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. And so in so many ways, that's a huge blessing. And then transitioning into building a company together is interesting because it never crossed my mind that building a company together would actually make us more segmented. And it's weird to have these little boxes that even if we're in the same house or running the same company, he still has a title that's not mine where he is working on something basically 24 hours a day. We need to work on that. And I'm doing my, I've got my job description and my role and also other industries and companies. And so it was weird to be like, oh, wow, I actually haven't really talked to you as my husband today.
Totally.
And all of a sudden we need to find time that's just ours. We've never had to do that before because we just were. And that I feel like has been the biggest transition and the biggest adjustment for that partner versus
yeah.
What am I trying to say?
Like the biggest
the spouse,
adjustment.
the spouse versus business partner and how those work together. Yeah, so that has been our biggest adjustment, and it's a work in progress. And like you're saying, with like what stays between you, what is communicated to your business partners or your employees. We have 2 other co-founders, and so they're also really good friends of ours. They're also married, and it's such an interesting dynamic. And I think we handle it very well, and communication is the biggest part of that. But it doesn't mean that it's always going to be perfect. And I think also bringing Hendrix into that, it's like, we really have to work hard on finding time for each other and time as a family, and turning off that work brain is very difficult. And it's very difficult for Hudson.
It's very difficult for Huw. I don't think it's happened in 6 years.
Yes. So it's a challenge, and it's hard when you're building something, building a company where you feel like there's always things to do. It's hard to clock out when it's yours.
Totally.
And one of our employees, Sasha, I love her so much. She's so incredible. And she also is that workaholic where we also say to her at the end of the night, we say, turn everything off, go home, relax. I mean, she works from home, so leave your office. It's really hard to clock out. It's especially hard to clock out when you really care about something.
Totally.
And so it does feel like a baby, and so much of that is overwhelming. I wouldn't trade it. I love it, but changing or evolving communication styles with your partner at this stage of your marriage or your partnership it's a very weird thing. It's so important, but it's vital. It's very crucial.
Totally.
And it's an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I really push Huw a lot to say, like, we need, like, my mom always told me, in a company or in anything, the fish rots from the head down. So, like, when the top of the head is rotting, you can't expect anything below it to be good.
Yeah.
And so I'm always like, we set the tone. So if we're on vacation emailing everybody, when they go on vacation, they're going to feel like they have to be emailing everybody.
Right.
We don't want to have that be the case. Like, I want people, first of all, when I'm taking time off, which is rare, but when I am, I don't want to be bothered. Like, I want the team to be able to handle stuff. If there's an emergency, of course, call me. But in the same way that when I have a team member who's on vacation, I don't want to bother them. I'm like, I want you to go recharge, enjoy your time with your family. That will make you better for the team. It's better for your life. It's better for everything. So getting Huw to like employ that in his own life, he believes that to be true for everybody else except for us. And like getting him to really believe that to be true is hard. And then it's also, I'm sure you guys will find this too, but like figuring out when to add to the team and when to build out on the team. Like, one of my favorite questions to ask people is like, what are you still doing that shouldn't be your job anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what are you know so much now. You've been at the company for 5 years or 6 years or 2 years or whatever. So there's surely things that you've outgrown in your role, and it's time to add people to support that so that you can take the next step up. Like, it's like building a pyramid. And so every time we grow, everybody has to take a step up. And the problem is Huw and I also have to take a step up,
Yeah.
which means relinquishing some control, which means trusting other people to get it done and being okay with that. And it is hard when you're the one who's responsible for it at the end of the day. And like your decisions impact, you know, a lot of people's lives and livelihood. And you really have to be cognizant of that and be respectful of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's weird. I mean, I know we are in the baby phase and you guys are not there anymore.
We're toddlers.
Yeah,
We're middle schoolers.
Yeah, I was going to say.
5th grade.
It is so bizarre to be at the place where I'm like, oh, wow, we are about to provide healthcare for employees and people are on payroll, and it's weird to have that responsibility. We take it so seriously, and it is such a weird, incredible thing, but it does provide so much pressure, and there's so much responsibility to make sure that everything is working and running correctly. And investment, you have other people's money, people that are believing in you to like make this grow and make this work. And I think it makes it extra hard to shut off for that reason. It's like, what if I'm not doing something wrong? Or what if something goes wrong and I haven't thought of the 10 other ways to solve it? And it becomes very overwhelming, but that burnout is worse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to sit on the couch and say, this is how you don't burn out. But then to actually implement it yourself in your own life and in your own, you know, job is really hard. It's not an easy thing to do. But what's fun about your pyramid visual is that it's an interesting concept of like, okay, now I'm relinquishing more power instead of gaining more power as the top. You're actually relinquishing more power. And I know that that's going to be hard for me because I naturally am the person that's like, I want to do it all. I know I can't. I shouldn't be. And what places, like you're saying, should I be relinquishing? And you were mentioning this earlier when we were talking about how you like to let employees in a way make their own mistakes, but have the freedom, have that like leash or that lead, if you will, to start problem solving on their own and let them grow that way. I think that is really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, right? Like you can't death grip everything.
Yeah.
And so I think if I make a mistake, I remember. I hate making the same mistake twice. That will keep me up at night.
Yeah.
And I think giving people an opportunity to say, listen, I'm going to tell you what I think. And if you still want to do it, that's cool. And I'm going to support you in that. And kind of keeping an eye on it and saying, okay, and knowing when to pull back and say, you know what? No, that's too risky. But I think you have to, that's how people learn. That's how they build. Because, you know, I am a firm believer that like people want to do a great job. Very few people show up to work because they don't care. A lot of people, especially in startups like we both have, they care. They want to do a good job. They don't want to disappoint people. And giving them kind of the foundation and the tools and the resources they need to be able to do that is the best thing you can do for them and for the business, because you can't make every single, like we couldn't have 15 stores and a clothing line. We also have 2 coffee shops because he was a psycho about coffee. Like he was like, there's no coffee in this town that I like, so I'm going to open a coffee shop. I was like, okay, great, good. But like you can't have all that and maintain all the controls. So you kind of have to accept that like maybe 10% isn't going to be exactly what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Because you can't. Otherwise, you're in your store all day, every day. You're, making every can that you guys produce.
Right. Absolutely not.
You can't. So you have to just accept that a little bit.
Yeah. And that's very hard.
It is.
Yeah. I will say, like, I think in a way, what I do like about having 3 other people involved as far as co-founders go is we each have very different skill sets, but we also get to talk things out before we talk to everybody else. And I actually find that very therapeutic. I mean, hopefully everybody's point gets heard and you make the right decision. You collectively feel like you're making the right decision. But like, I I almost feel like it would be harder if it was just Hudson and I making all of those big decisions. Even though I feel like we're capable, it's still like sometimes a couple more voices are helpful. And you have a Megan.
We do.
I love Megan so much.
I love Megan so much.
Megan was with you from the beginning, right?
Day one.
Yeah, day one. And you're Megan. I want a Megan.
Yeah.
Megan is an awesome human. She's such a hard worker. But do you feel like having a third voice, even though it wasn't a main voice, but like having that third opinion was good?
You know, well, now we have a senior leadership team. So
Now you have a Jess.
we have Jess, Cassidy, Carrie, Megan. So we have like a bigger, we have more people around kind of witnessing what's happening and being able to give other perspectives and help guide the ship. But I think in the early days when it was just me, Huw, and Megan, like literally for the first 2 years, we were the only 3 constants in the company, maybe even the first 3 years. And I think what having Megan did was it kept me in line. It kept me motivated because I love her and I, always wanted to do the right things because I wanted her to stay. So like having a great team around you also just really incentivizes you to be like, we got to keep going because I want to give everyone on our team the opportunities in their careers that they want to have. I don't want them to want to get promoted and have to go somewhere else to get that promotion. I want to be able to give that promotion here. So we have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably the thing that has helped so much. And then of course, like when Huw and I are bickering and arguing or we don't agree on something, we're both like, Megan, what do you think? And she's like, oh, please leave me alone. But it is really helpful. I mean, we always promote from within whenever we can before we hire externally. And we have so many people who started as sales associates who are now in our home office team. They're on our buying team. They're on our finance team. They're on our inventory team, like whatever the case may be. And that has been really important to me because it also means that like we're retaining that culture from the beginning where people saw how hard it was. They saw how much we worked. They saw like the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into building. And so they guard the business the same way we guard the business because they know it's not a given and they know how hard it was to get here, like how much we sacrificed in the beginning, especially to build. And so there's no better like culture to be able to pass down when it comes from more people within and not just me and Huw.
Yeah. Well, it's also nice then when a new team member joins to see like, oh, I have a runway here. I have growth here. They did it. And if I do the right things, I can also achieve something. And I love that mentality. I hope that as well. And I do already see us having that foresight in our company too, where it's like, oh, on the startup side, maybe we can't pay what we want to pay or we're hiring for, X position, but I see them becoming something else because I see their potential. And I'm hiring them here because I can. This is what we're going to work on. But also I can already see their potential in their growth and what that could look like later. And I think that just in general is super, it's super cool and important to like hire that way as well.
Yeah.
When you're searching for somebody.
And I think it like tells a nice story for new people who are coming in to be like, oh, your turnover here isn't super high.
Right.
Like people are happy here. They want to stay here. I've been told so many horror stories from people who are like, we weren't allowed to sit down at this place or we weren't allowed to take our PTO and we couldn't do that. And I'm just like, what an awful way to live. Like,
yeah.
I don't want people to come into work with anxiety. I want people to want to do a good job.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to come in and be afraid or like the rug's going to get pulled out from under them. Like that's just not how I want to live. So I don't want other people living like that either.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to have a really hard time with as we grow is the boundary setting because that to me is really hard because naturally I want you to be my friend and I want you to be involved in everything. And I want to build something really cool and I want you to be there for the ride. And then there are times where like, how do I differentiate the boss from the employee? while still wanting to maintain that close relationship. I think there's some like, there's a lot of gray there. And I have a feeling that even though I'm going to try my best, I will at some point misstep just based on my personality. Do you have any advice?
I mean, you definitely will misstep because it's just like part of the deal. I think my honest opinion is that there's people who get it and there's people who don't. Like, I would call anyone on my senior leadership team on the phone and talk to them about personal stuff because I know they get it. They know when to have fun and they know when it's time to work. And that's not something I ever had to tell them. It's just something they inherently know. And I think that like it is it's a hard dynamic because sometimes I look at my girlfriends who work at bigger companies and they have all these other women that they work with and they can commiserate with and they can talk about work with. And like, you don't really have that luxury when you're in charge because you have to be really careful about the message that you're sending to the team and what you say. And so having like, your key team members, your key people who like, you can let your guard down with and do it in a way that's like still respectful, but like we all have to travel together. We eat a lot of meals together. We're on planes for 6 hours at a time together. And so you have to have that level of comfortability to some extent. And I think that you'll know the people that you can be comfortable with because your gut will tell you, and you'll know the people where like you need to keep a little more distance.
Yeah.
I think that's all you can really do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Do you feel like you've kind of gained friendships in that way? Like I as a female found company ourselves, we've unintentionally now just been outnumbered or we've outnumbered the guys. So just like you, there's only 2 guys on our team now. Sorry, boys.
He's been outnumbered
for a long time. Do you think that like, has it been a challenge? Like, has it been more of a challenge or has it come easier to have that many female employees? Like, is that work environment, have you felt like you had to like stop fights, like put out little fires between like employees, or has it just been like, oh, you've been able to really hire on the majority side women that work well together?
I would say that, again, this is an area where I think it like starts from the top. I think we've made it really clear that if you have a problem with something or someone, we expect you to address it head on and we expect it to be a respectful conversation. If it's anything other than that, it's not going to work. Yeah. Like, that's just kind of it. We've drawn a really hard line in the sand on that. We really, like when I was younger and I would complain about something, my mom would always be like, well, did you say that? Did you tell that to that person? How are they going to know if you didn't tell them? And so, unfortunately, I really ran with that. And like, whenever I'm annoyed at Huw, I'm like, if I'm mad, you have to also be mad. I'm not being mad by myself. I'm bringing you into it. And he's like, just please leave me alone. But I think that like, we just don't tolerate it. Like, if there's an issue that if there's a conversation that needs to take place, again, like that's around the direct and clear communication of like, this is the issue, this is how we're going to solve it, and this is how we're going to move on from it. You can vent to your friends, you can vent to your partner, you can vent to your family, but like, you have to maintain a certain level at work because we are a small team and we do all have to work together, and we try to address things as they come up and then like put the fire out if there is one. But I will say, like, we have been really lucky that we're not like a bunch of drama. We have so much natural drama of like, did we get the store? Did the order come in? Is the event happening? Is it going well? That like, we don't really have time for any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Which
is how it should be.
Totally.
We touched on this earlier too, before we were recording, that it's like those challenges, that problem solving is like the fun part. The last thing you want to be doing is dealing with internal nonsense that like shouldn't even be there to begin with. On the fun side, what's really fun about your store is the shopping because you get to shop first.
I do. He's always like, it's not one for you and one for the store. Like, you don't get to buy for yourself everything that's in the store. And I'm like, That's
Yes, I do.
why
That's
I'm
the
here.
point.
That's why I came. Yeah.
I want to go one of these days when you guys go to market because that just,
Oh my God, come. I was just there
sounds
this
so
week.
fun. I want to do it so bad.
It's like shopping on steroids.
It's amazing.
It's so fun. That is definitely like the curation and this whole thing like kind of came to be because my dad, when I was younger, like whenever we would get like a mental health day from school, my dad would be like, go shopping with your sister. Or like when my parents would travel, they would like bring back a little present for me, which they were gone a lot. So thanks guys. But they like that whole like notion of like shopping and travel kind of all came together. And so it's been really fun to get to bring that to life. And he was like, he told me when I was a teenager, like, you are so good at spending money. Like, you have to learn how to make it. It's going to be an emergency for you. And so I was like, okay, how am I going to figure out how to like make money doing all the things I really love to do?
Yeah.
So travel and shop.
It's
Kind of
great.
came together in a nice way.
It's a great combination.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
And then whenever there's like a new category of something, I'll be like, oh, we need to pick up this jewelry line for the store. And Hugh's like, I know what you're doing. I see what's happening here.
You do have the best jewelry collection of anybody that I know.
Thank you.
It's
I'm a
it's
hoarder.
a great achievement. I love that is a part of your job. I think that is so fun. And I know we both have a travel bug because it's just the best. It's so nice to just go other places and see how other people live and
totally
see it all and eat.
Yeah. And eat.
We have a really fun experience in where were we? Manchester. That happened in
England,
Manchester?
where
Was it England?
Filming.
It was yeah. Where somebody, this lovely restaurant, he force fed Hudson. I've never had so much food in one night.
Yeah.
Delicious food. This is gross. I threw up in the middle of the night because I was so full. I like woke up in a sweat and was like, oh my God, I'm so full. Yeah. But so much fun. We've done a lot of eating all over the world. A lot. And I want to do it again.
Same.
Yeah.
You're not the only person that has eaten with Huw who has thrown up in the night. Just so you know. It's like a thing.
Huw is the type of person when you go out to eat, he's just the one that orders.
Everything.
Most of the time he's been there multiple times, if not like
that week. He's been, yes. All he does is eat. And
there are not a lot of people where I just kind of trust to just order because I'm also very particular. I love food, but like I've got my preferences and I just know whatever is going to come out will be good and I'll be happy.
Yeah. He's such a ham. Sometimes when we're going out to eat with like people we don't know that well, I'll be like, you have to just order your meal. You can't order for everybody at the table. We don't know these people well enough for you to insert yourself on their entire dining experience. And he's like, it'll be fine. They'll love it. I'm like,
And unfortunately, has he ever been proven wrong on that?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
But it's like even to the point where my siblings are like, they'll look at him at dinner and be like, this is my entree. If I don't finish it and I decide to offer you some,
that's one
you
thing.
May have some. But this isn't like a communal share situation.
He does love the tapas style.
He'll just throw his fork right on your plate and fish it out, whatever he wants.
Yeah.
It's problematic. He's an animal.
Okay, so kind of a sidestep because we love to travel and we love to eat and just I feel like do a lot of like experiences. I think a lot of our style especially as friends is like when we do something it's an experience that we want to enjoy together. But what is your, aside from Huw, your R&R style? Like what do you like to do to relax?
If I could get a massage every day of my life, I would.
It's amazing.
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I would say that. And then just like watching The Real Housewives.
Yeah.
You know?
Mindless.
Because who doesn't want to just lay around and watch The Real Housewives from time to time?
Both of those things are I don't watch The Housewives, but I want to make a connection here that both of those things appeal to me because they are like, I don't want to say escapism, but it's like a place where like you just can just completely disconnect. Massage is one of my favorite things ever.
Everything.
Yeah. If I could do that every day, absolutely. Now for me, Bake Off, Great British Baking Show is my replacement to Housewives.
God, that's Hugh's. He literally yesterday said to me, "This is my housewives, leave me alone." Because I was like, I can't watch these people make these cakes anymore. And he was like, "Molly, this is my Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Just, this is my time." And I was like, oh my God, okay.
I'm sorry to scar you with that. But it's true. Like those are the things that I'm like, okay, that's like my escapism where I can just kind of shut off. And I think that that's really important. And I think Hudson needs to find that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, when Hugh's not working, the thing that's like exhausting about him is that when he's not working, he's doing something else that's exhausting. Like he'll play like 3 hours of tennis, or he'll like cook all day long, like meal prep. And I'm like, we don't even have time to eat this. But he like is always being productive, and that's like his escapism. So it's hard because I don't really get it, because I'm like, let's just sit still. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah. And he's like, no, never. I would never sit still. He actually was making fun of me. He actually
doesn't sit still even when he's sitting.
When sometimes he like does actually fall asleep on the couch, and he was making fun of me yesterday because I take pictures of him when he does that and I put them on group chats, because I'll be like, see, he does rest from time to time. Like, I need the proof and the evidence. Yeah. That he sits still. Yeah. But I feel like Hudson will sit still. Will Hudson like watch a movie and not be on his phone?
Yeah, he can do that. I feel like film that's his version.
That's good.
So not like a reality show, but like he loves watching movies. He doesn't get to do it as much anymore. But he does love watching movies, and podcasts are a thing now. But when he's listening to a podcast, he's working.
Yeah.
He can't just, do one thing or another. And I think that's why I like our road trips. Because as much as they are a lot, it's exhausting being in the car that long, changing Hendrix's diaper, all those things. It is a moment where we can't do anything else but drive. We talk and that sort of thing, but like there is no other thing to do.
Totally.
And I think that is important. We've both been with our people for a really long time. And I think it's like they say, it's like every 3 years patterns change. And I think it is really important to like find the new pattern. I think that is something that like is true, because especially when you've been with a partner for so long, you've gone through a lot of different chapters of life. You've evolved, you've grown, you're doing different things. Specifically in our cases where we're also building businesses together, it's important to like find a thing.
Totally.
Find a new thing together that you enjoy together. And every phase has a new thing that needs to be found.
I know. We have to find our new thing.
Yeah, we do too.
He's like, I really want you to like tennis. But when I go to play tennis, I go to have fun.
Yep.
I'm not here to like work on my skill.
Yep.
We went bowling together once, and I will never bowl with him again, because he was like, you're not doing it right. And I was like, that's not why I'm here. I'm not joining a league. Like, I'm here to have a good time, have a couple laughs. If it goes in the gutter, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
This is not where I need to shine. But he wants to shine always, all the time. He's like, you have to give 100% effort to everything you do. And I'm like, I just don't feel that way.
Okay, so he's going to, when he listens to this, he's going to hate this because of what I'm about to say. That reminds me of my dad. And so that is something that God love him, my dad is so competitive, and I am very competitive, but I can also shut off and have fun and not be that way. But yes, everything 100% all the time. You got to try. It has to be. The effort level is a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm just like, he gets like genuinely so irritated at me. I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm competitive with myself. So my toxic trait is, if we go bowling, I'm going to get mad at myself for not getting that strike. But I don't care if you guys don't try. It's an internal battle.
Sasha.
No, it's bad. That is my toxic trait. Because I also love bowling. I'm not good at it.
I'm not good at it.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
but I will also be sad if I score bad.
I get that. I just like, I'm all sports. I don't know if people call bowling a sport, because I'm not like a big sports
I think
gal.
some people do.
Well, I'm bad at sports, so we can throw bowling into that. And it just is what it is. Yeah. It's not, it's not where I shine. And he's like, well, you could be good if you tried.
There are so many other things that doesn't need to be one of them.
It doesn't.
It really doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love watching sports. I was never allowed to play sports when I was a kid because I couldn't get hurt for work.
Oh my
I
gosh.
really wanted to play volleyball. I really wanted to play ultimate frisbee, sad times. So I think there's a part of me that just like wants to be good at every random sport that I try.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that will never happen. I love watching sports. I'm a great like couch commentator, but I'm not good in practice.
My sisters were like all state volleyball players, like savage. And so when I got older, my dad was like, you will also play volleyball. And he came to watch me practice and he was like, Molly, you have to dive for the ball. And I turned around and I was like, I'm so sorry. You wanted me to throw my body onto the hard floor to catch a ball that's going to bounce back up with no injury? I'm like, I will not. And he was like, okay, she needs to do something else. That's not going to work for her.
Oh my gosh. Every time you talk about your childhood, it makes me smile. For good and for bad, I guess.
Yeah. You're not laughing, you're crying. It's one of those.
But I do love whenever you talk about you and your dad, you seem like you have such a good dynamic. And I love that. I love to see like the dad and daughter dynamic. You were the youngest.
Yes. And the favorite, I will say.
And the favorite.
My sisters will disagree, but like
I haven't met all of your sisters, but I do feel like that's true. What do you think like the hardest part about being so much younger than your siblings was?
Just that we were like never in the same spot at the same time in life. Like I was 11, I think, when one of them got married, or 12, and I was 15 when the other one got married, and then they started having kids, and I was still a teenager, and so I was kind of like a only child with older siblings.
Yeah.
I think that was probably the worst. But did you ever wish you had siblings?
I wanted a sibling. I think it was around 9. I was like, so that was a hard pass on that
Can I
one.
get a friend around here?
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the answer was no. But I started babysitting, and that was great because I love kids, and then I get paid, and I got to give them back.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever asked for one after that.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah. The sibling thing is interesting, but like that dynamic then like going in like later in life, do you feel like it still did like make you work harder? Does that make sense?
I think it made me like look at what they were doing and assess whether or not I wanted to do it for me. So like not necessarily work harder, but I think it was like, do I want to get married when I'm that young? Do I want to have kids? Do I want to, go to law school? One of my sisters went to law school. Do I want to go to grad school? And I really was like able to watch everything they did and be like,
nah,
pick and choose what I was going to take from it.
Yeah.
And that I feel very lucky about.
Yeah.
And now they have 7 kids between them. So I'm like, perfect. Thank you guys so much. Love your kids. They can come over anytime.
Yep.
I will always be there for them.
You are by far the coolest aunt.
Okay, I got a t-shirt today from Favorite Daughter. Shout out to Erin and Sarah Foster. That my nieces presented me at breakfast because they're all in town visiting, that said Favorite Aunt on it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is my trophy.
Yep.
And I win.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Accept that with pride. Yeah.
And a bunch of them work at WITN, actually.
That's just so cool.
Either they work currently or have worked at WITN. So.
What a cool achievement that is to like then employ.
It's so
your
fun.
Nieces.
I have a nephew who has a jewelry line, and we sell his jewelry at all of our stores, and it does very well. And all 3 of my nieces have worked with us in different capacities.
So cool.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a really cool thing to be able to do. And I always wonder about that with Hendrix. Not necessarily that he'll be involved in hippie water necessarily, but like the achievement of like creating a business that is around that your family can be a part of. I think that's a goal of a lot of people, but most people never get there. And it's a fun thought that I would never force it on him if he doesn't want to be part of it. Totally get it, but cool to have that opportunity of something that you've built being around for other people that you love to join in on. pretty cool.
It's also fun because they get to work in, like, I have one niece who lives in LA and she works here. And I've got one who lives in Massachusetts and she works at a store there. So it's like they also all work in different spots, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
I've got my nephew is going to go like work in our Nantucket store all summer with his girlfriend. I'm like, what a life.
That is really cute.
What a life. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. What do you think your favorite part? You had a unique childhood, just like I did. What was your favorite part of your childhood?
Probably once I realized sports were not going to be my path, I started riding horses.
Hmm.
And I think that was probably my favorite part. It just,
Yeah.
I love animals. I always like prefer to be with animals. I will always have dogs. I'm always like asking Huw to rescue more dogs. So being with horses was like very therapeutic for me when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's my sport.
It is a sport too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my sport.
You are good at sports.
Just not team sports, maybe.
That's fair. I feel like I'm a good team player, but that's not necessarily like
A team player and a team sportsman.
yeah,
I
those are
feel
two
like
different
are
things.
different. I feel like
Yeah.
we're good team players, but we don't necessarily like I don't want to have to trust that you're going to get the ball, which I guess is like
Yeah.
kind of what we're talking about with work. But anyway, full circle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that you are just such a perfect example of like the things to implement to
Thanks,
succeed.
Sash.
I really love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're the best.
You're the best.
Killing
Yeah.
it. You have the cutest kid. Hudson's pretty good.
It's true.
You're doing all the things.
And like I said, we look up to you guys too. It's really fun to have like friends that are also so ambitious. Like comments aside about how we relax and that sort of thing. It's like it's so nice to be able to talk to people that, you know,
Totally.
always want to grow and always want to evolve. And I will say what's so cool about the two of you too is that you have always challenged us in a good way. That's always been really fun to have friends that also do that.
Yeah, same. It's been a great dynamic. I feel so lucky that we were brought together. It's like the one thing I'll give Huw credit for.
I do appreciate him for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's okay.
He's a good one.
Yeah.
He's got a great heart.
He does. Great heart.
What do you think that is like a key element to like a healthy woman in 2025?
Boundaries.
Yeah.
I gotta say, boundaries. Boundaries with friends, boundaries with family, boundaries with yourself. Like giving yourself some grace because there's so many voices and opinions and thoughts. And for me, it's like about just being like a healthy person, you know?
Yeah.
Having time for yourself and holding yourself accountable, but giving yourself some room.
Yeah.
I would say. I always like when I can sleep at night and I sleep through the night, I know I'm in a good spot. When I can't sleep at night, it's usually because I'm trying to work something out that like wakes me up. And so that's when I feel like I'm like, okay, what do I need to like tighten up on? What do I need to like fix my boundary on or adjust on?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably the sign for me.
Yeah. Do you have like girlfriends outside of work that just like that get it that you're busy?
Totally.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Only a couple. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I find that too. It's like life is loud. There's a lot there. And like-minded people in that way are so essential.
Like even if I haven't talked to you in a month, it's not because I don't love you. It's like because
life is lifing.
Yeah. Life is lifing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you call, I'm always going to answer kind of thing.
Yeah. That's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Fun. I'm so glad. And everybody, go to wheatcollection.com.
Yes.
Wheatcollection.com. And if ever you vacation, look for a wheat because you're going to want to be there.
Thanks, Sash.
It'll be well worth it. Yeah.
I hope so.
It is.
It's like a lot of pressure.
but you live up to it. It's fine.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Keep going.
Bye.
Bye.